on Coder Conversations. I'm your host, Kevin.
And I'm your co-host, Brian.
Yeah, Brian, I see you rocking that new hat there, man. It's pretty fresh.
Yeah, our friends over at Ape and Bird sent over this hat and some stickers. Really cool stuff. You can find them at apeandbird.com, APENBIRD.com.
Awesome, man. But yeah, man, for today's show, let's get into these data centers. They're going up everywhere. There's a ton popping up here around Texas. I'm sure there's a lot popping up like around you as well.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've been hearing, people are saying, we don't want them in our neighborhood because increasing water costs and energy costs. And I mean, the funny thing about it is that, the government talks about trying to be, environmentally friendly, but then at the same, in the same hand, they're building all these data centers all over the place, which consume huge amounts of energy. And so I don't really see how that vibes or gels with climate change and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of contradictory because some of these power centers are using as much, I mean, some of these centers are using as much power as complete cities. That's how much power some of these data centers are consuming. And I mean, they're providing jobs, but they're not providing so many jobs in which to justify those costs.
Well, and what's funny about that is probably as these data centers go up and they're supporting more and more AI, the AI and the robots are just going to replace human jobs. So I think that's probably another reason why people would say, you know what, I don't really want these data centers near us because they're just going to take human jobs ultimately.
Yeah, I feel like ultimately that's what they're building it for, that and surveillance. Like they want to be able to surveil everybody. Have you heard of like those flock cameras that are going up everywhere?
No, what's that?
They're kind of like these cameras that they're putting up everywhere that they allow like the authorities to see, or pretty soon they're going to be able to hear. Um, we're entering into a communist style of society, but it's capitalism in front. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm saying it feels like we're entering into like a communist style society where you're constantly being monitored, constantly being surveilled. But I think it's because we don't see a person doing it. We don't give it as much mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like that movie Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone. I know they've remade a newer Judge Dredd too, but just about that surveillance. I mean, I know when I was younger and I traveled to visited England. I remember this one city I was in or town called Leeds, Leeds. There were cameras on every single street corner everywhere. I was like, wow, this is like Big Brother on steroids.
Yeah, yeah. That's what's so crazy is like if it was
And
an
that's
actual,
years ago. That's back in like 2008.
yeah, if it was a
So
person looking through your window, you'd be alarmed. But since it's a camera or AI monitoring you, it's like you're not as concerned.
right, yeah, you're just like, oh, no, okay, that's just the AI. That's like no big deal. But ultimately, yeah, they are using this stuff for surveillance. They're watching us, and it's kind of like in that movie, The Dark Knight,
Mhm.
Batman. Towards the end of that movie, they show him link up basically like this portal where every cell phone kind of triangulates the location. And so they're able to track where anyone is at any one given time. And then they're able to track the specific person by their cell phone and by their voice. So they're picking up all this data from the phones, triangulating the signal, and surveilling people that way. So I feel like if that's in a movie that's years old, it's probably technology that the government has already come up with.
Yeah.
It's just they're waiting for the right time to actually roll this stuff out. Like they want us to be ready and not, revolt against it or whatever.
Right. And I mean, with the proliferation of all of this AI and all of these data centers, I don't really feel like my life is significantly better. It's not like houses are cheaper, food is cheaper. So where's the productivity of all of this technology going? That's the real question.
Yeah, and I mean, what's crazy is that your average house now, if you look out on the market, real estate, you get like a two-bedroom house kind of run down for $700,000, you know, and that's in, wherever. It could be New York, could be North Carolina, could be Florida, Texas, but you're really not getting that much space for your dollar anymore. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that are just like fed up with the way things are going with real estate and with the economy because jobs are leveling off or dropping off. That airline just failed. They
Oh,
let
yeah,
go of
Spirit
like,
Airlines.
yeah, yeah.
That's
They
crazy.
they let go of, I want to say, 18,000 people. So yeah, this this economy is really, I mean, it feels like a depression almost, especially
Right.
with gas prices going up from the whole Iran situation. I think it's just like squeezing people at both ends.
Yeah.
Like they're already not making money. They're already losing their jobs to robots. They're already priced out of the housing market. Like me and you, good luck buying a house.
Yeah.
We'd have to do really well financially to even, secure that loan.
Man, what's crazy to me is like the airline that failed, Spirit Airlines. This was like the budget airline. This was like probably the cheapest airline you could buy a ticket to. And
Oh,
why
wow.
is this one failing? Why isn't the most expensive ones failing? So to me, it's either, the rich people, they have all of the money because the money went somewhere, or, maybe it would like the failure of this airline was intentional because, as things collapse and, these rich people, they have their things on, their bunkers on these islands somewhere. They don't want poor people to be able to come out there and fly out there, like
Yeah, well, that's why you have a lot of these rich people. You hear about them, moving to Costa Rica, building houses on the beaches. Other rich people moving to New Zealand, building up stuff over there. And it just, yeah, it feels like they're preparing for, what could be a civil war or some kind of political uprising in the United States. And so they don't want to be around for that because they know that they'll be, some of the first people persecuted if this country finally decides, all right, we're tired of these housing prices. We're tired of robots taking all the jobs. We're gonna rise up. And so of course I think rich people are scared about that. So they're building bunkers and like Bill Gates, right? Doesn't Bill Gates have like a massive bunker built?
yeah, I think pretty much all of them elites, they got either a bunker built or they got some kind of like mansion on an isolated island somewhere that you can't get to.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. It should be interesting to see as the years go by what actually happens. Like, will there be a civil war in this country? And what do you think it would take for that to start? What would actually rev up a situation like that?
Yeah, I think it has to be a prolonged period of people going without jobs, without employment. We right now we have enough entertainment to, keep people busy, to keep them occupied. But when they've been out of a job so long that, they can't buy food now, then everything is going to change up. That's when, um, you know, people are gonna start shifting.
Oh,
It's
you
like,
saw the comment?
yeah, square mo, it's okay. We can build bunkers in Minecraft and call it good. That's our budget. Oh yeah, I did see something interesting. It was this video. It's talking about like the rich people. They're gonna be able to experience all the good things in life, and they're gonna give us like the digital headsets. And we want to travel. We have to do it in the VR world.
I can see that.
Yes, yeah, same here. Like,
Yeah, I mean, what's crazy though about when we're talking about a little bit about housing markets, I think back to our parents' time. I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, tri-state area, Northeast, and my parents bought a house back in, I don't know how, maybe I was 8 years old. So I don't know, sometime in the 90s. So they bought this house in the 90s for $100,000. I think one, let's see, one, two, like 3.5 bedroom house with a furnished basement. They put a pool in the back and kind of fixed up. They put a deck, sliding glass doors. They really fixed the place up. But yeah, bottom line is they got a whole house in a pretty decent neighborhood for $100,000. Now we're looking at rundown 2 bedroom house, not in the greatest area, $750,000.
yeah, I mean,
How are we supposed to afford that? Are the millennials or Gen Z? How are any of us supposed to afford a $700,000, $800,000, $1 million home when this is just a couple of bedrooms?
I think that's the plan is that they make it so you can afford it. So therefore you have to rent. So you're always renting, always renting, always renting. Like when my parents bought their house, it's like what, like 70, $80,000. And I could have probably paid that off in like 3 or 4 years. But now for me to get a house where I live, just a basic house would be like 500K. And
Oh, in
like,
Texas, yeah.
yeah, Frisco, yeah. So, like you mentioned, how does the average person afford something like that unless you have like two people making six figures?
Yeah, I don't know what people are gonna do. And we got Square Mo got to move out of the country. Yeah, I mean, I got a buddy. He's Italian, actually not Italian, Sicilian. He's Sicilian. He wants to get out of here. He's talking about starting up an Airbnb type business in Sicily because he said, life is just a lot slower there. People don't work nearly as hard as they do in the U.S. And I think he has dual citizenship, or he's able to obtain dual citizenship for here and Sicily. So I said to him, I'm jealous, man. Like you have an out, you have
Right.
family, your dad owns an apartment in Italy that you could go move to, right? I mean, obviously he's trying to find like a good remote job to move out there with. So that's why he hasn't done it yet. But I was saying, I'm like, I would just leave. If I had that kind of setup, I'd just get out of the US now because who knows if they're going to lock down
Yeah.
the borders. That's like if there is a civil war or there is some kind of uprising, they might just shut everything down, close all the borders, can't get into Mexico, can't get into Canada, can't fly out of the US. I mean, you might think that that's kind of like a conspiracy, that type of language, but really I don't think it is. I
No.
really could see them just shutting down, closing down shop, just shutting all the borders and not letting Americans leave.
I mean, that's what it seems like they're doing. Like, they building the wall. People thought it was to keep like foreigners out, but I look at it as to keep us locked in. And now the cheap airlines, you can't. They're shutting down, or now the tickets are so expensive, you can't get out of the country. So it's like keep everybody here, but you know I don't know what they want to do with us, but I don't necessarily think it's good. So, like you mentioned, if you can get out of the country, like why not have a second option somewhere?
Yeah, I visited Costa Rica when I was younger and I loved it. It was just so green and beautiful, and the people were really friendly to us Americans, because some places people hate Americans. And, like when I visited England when I was a bit younger, I was touring with a band at the time. People were so rude to us, and even someone stole a cymbal stand from one of the shows that we played, I think in Leeds, England. So it wasn't really the best experience over there, but in Central America, I felt very welcomed by the the locals down there, and I could see myself definitely buying like a house on the beach in Costa Rica and just go into early retirement and call it a day. Do the still do the podcast remotely, but just kind of live like a much slowed down pace of life, a lot simpler life. Like my buddy Carmelo's talking about, go to Sicily, go to Italy, just kind of the pace of life is just so much slower there. It's not like the US capitalism, capitalism must make a dollar, must make a dollar. At some point, people are going to burn out from that. And I think that time is pretty much already come where people are like, look, price of gas, price of housing, rent prices. I mean, the rent I have now in Long Island, New York, 2,200 a month for a one bedroom. That's insane. But what are you going to do? I mean, if you don't pay it, you can't live here. You got to go move to, the Midwest or somewhere cheaper or even down in Texas. I guess houses are a bit cheaper in Texas.
I mean, they're a little bit cheaper, but not really that cheap. I mean, it's still like $500,000 if you're in Dallas, or Austin is more expensive. Never seen so many people like like on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. They're talking about they living out of their cars. So they're living out of their cars. Maybe sign up to a gym and they use that to take their showers. And this is becoming kind of like a norm where people are just homeless, and
Yeah. I
it's like
mean,
we're not doing anything about it.
to bring the clocks back a bit, I was out in LA a couple different times. The last time I was out there, my business, I had a drum lesson business in LA, downtown LA. And pretty much what happened is Google, they changed their algorithm, which they do from time to time, the Google search algorithm. And so my drum lesson business, I was number two in the a thing called the Google grid. It's like they'll show like three businesses in the grid. So I was number two in that grid, but then they pushed me all the way back to about the third page. And, I mean, no one's even looking past maybe three or four results down when you go on Google. So to be on the third page, it basically bankrupted me, and I lost my apartment, and I was living out of my car on the beach in Malibu, California. I mean, I will say this: it's beautiful there, so it's it's not a bad place to live out of your car. And then I would drive to downtown LA every day, teach, play, and then at night drive back to the beach and sleep in my car. And I made sure I got dark tinted windows so no one could really see in at night. But it's not the most comfortable thing, it's not really something you want to do. Ultimately, I came back to New York with family, and it's been easier being around family. But, when you're on your own, I mean, this kind of stuff happens very commonly. Like if you don't have family to help you out, a lot of people end up homeless that way.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people buying either like vans, or maybe they even pull their money and get an RV and live in an RV somewhere. But it seems like no matter what you do, there's somebody with their with their hands out trying to take money out your pocket, because then you have to park the RV on an RV parking lot or whatever, and they're gonna just ramp up those prices up.
That's the problem.
But yeah, like Square Mo talking about, yeah, the ideal is kind of being remote in like a cheap foreign country. But the issue is like if your job finds out, they'll probably fire you because they don't want you
Yeah, I mean,
working out
that's
some other country.
that's the issue is having. Yeah, he's having the issue that, he can't find a job that is global remote. He might be able to find something that's within the US, but the second you move to Italy, you move to Europe, you move to Costa Rica, and like you said, the job finds out, they'll probably get rid of you.
Yeah, I mean, and even with the like you mentioned, if you have this online business, you're just one algorithm shift away from things just changing in an instant. So it's like
Exactly.
you have to hurry up and build like a multi-million dollar business, and then okay, I'm gonna buy these different houses overseas because it's like if you're barely making it, you're overseas, and then the algorithm shifts and your business is no longer seen, and now you're stranded overseas in some foreign country.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really know what my plan is. I would love to get out of this country and, maybe travel a little bit. I've been to Europe before when I used to tour with one of my bands, and that was really cool. Germany was just awesome. Berlin is kind of like a cleaner version of New York City, really. And just there's art everywhere and tons of musicians. So I definitely would fit in really well in Berlin. I don't know. I'm not sure housing wise, like what it costs, but I'm pretty sure in Germany, a lot of people live off the government. And in Europe in general, I think a lot of people just live off the government. Because I got a buddy, he moved, this guy Andreas, he's a guitarist I used to know, sound engineer. He got married to a Swedish woman and he moved to Sweden. And he said, he was trying to start up a business, but he was running into all this red tape. So he said basically they made it so it's easier to just get a check, get a paycheck from the government. It's easier to do that, just live off the government versus starting your own business. Whereas in the United States, it's more a bit geared towards, okay, we'll kind of help you get your business going. We'll give you subsidies, things like that. So Europe doesn't really seem to have that same type of setup. It's more so, okay, I'm just going to live off the government and call it a day.
Yeah, I think on paper that sounds great, but like if you start doing that, then you're gonna have generations of people who are accustomed to the government shuts the taps off. You have no skills, but now you have no sustenance. Now, I think I might just like I want some land in kind of like a more remote place and just start a farm or something out there, like a self-sustaining
Yeah, where do
type
you
of.
I mean, if you could move anywhere in the world, where would you move?
Well, I'll probably just move. She has some really nice looking areas. So if I have some land out there, I'll probably have to build like a storm shelter to get those tornadoes. But uh,
Oh,
just doing
yeah.
some like doing some like or maybe you and a few friends, y'all buy some land together and build a small community out there. Like I think
Oh,
that's
that'd be
what.
awesome. Yeah.
So Square Mo said Malaysia or Indonesia. Yeah,
Malay okay.
yeah, I've heard of a
Yeah.
lot of those like
In
Asian countries.
Indonesia is supposedly really nice.
Yeah, in the Thailand,
Thailand
like some
and
areas of
and way
Vietnam.
cheaper, way
Yep.
cheaper. Vietnam. Then you got places like the Philippines. I know they get hit with a lot of storms, but I know because I mean a lot of work gets outsourced to the Philippines.
Yes.
So you know that would be a if you were able to get a global remote job making, at least 50K a year and then move with that job to the Philippines or Vietnam or Malaysia, Indonesia, one of these countries, China even, and then you have your income from your remote work, but the cost of living is significantly lower where you are, and then you're making anywhere between 50 and 80K a year, let's say, from a U.S. remote job, but they let you leave the country and still work for them. That would be, I think we're going to start seeing more of that. Companies start to maybe, I don't want to say forced to, but be pushed in the direction of, hey, we need to let our employees live wherever they want to live. If they want to live in India, they can live in India. You know, they just have to fix their time schedule to be, on par with the U.S. or whatever. But outside of that, I think I think companies should allow their employees to be remote globally. I think we may start to see that shift as prices keep going up and Americans are just getting fed up with these $750,000 for a two-bedroom house and in the Midwest. It's like it's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy that people are actually considering like this as a viable option. Like, hey, I want to move out of the country because before, like America
That's how
was
you know
where
it's bad. That's how you know it's
America
bad.
was where everybody else was like, I want to come to America. But now we're like, no, I'm ready to get out of here because everything's kind of collapsing. But you think, man, I'll never own a house overseas because I can only lease. But technically, you're leasing here. Like, don't pay your property taxes or don't pay your HOA fees. And let's see if you really own that house.
Let's see if you really own it. I mean, that's the problem with I used to live in LA, California, Southern California. I would love to own property in Southern California, maybe whether it be LA, Santa Barbara, Orange County, Laguna Beach. It'd be awesome to own property there, but the property taxes are so high, the home prices are so high. I don't know how, I think you got to work in finance or something, or you got to own your own business, or you got to be doing really well. Like here in Long Island, I think a lot of the people, the rich people that live in the Hamptons, I think a lot of them own their own businesses. Some of them own businesses in New York City. And because Long Island's kind of like a suburb of Manhattan. And I think that's why it's so expensive.
Yeah, like property taxes, like out here, it could be like 2 to 3% a year. So let's just say you have $1 million house. 1%, what is that? Like 10,000. So 2%, 20,000, 3%, 30,000. So you're pretty much still renting your house. You're paying like thousands every month
Right.
just to live in your own house. So like you can't stop working. You have to keep working.
Yeah, I back when I was younger, I relocated to Southern California, Los Angeles, at age 22. And I actually, funny enough, we're talking about remote work. I had a remote job selling health insurance at the time. So I grew up in Connecticut, moved from Connecticut over to California, kept the same health insurance job. It was, over the phone and on the computer. And then, just I started to think like, what do I want to do long term? Like what's the plan here? What's the end result? I mean, I went there with a band to try to make it in the industry because people always say, "Oh, you want to do music? Go to LA." Go to LA. It's like, but the thing is, when you get to town, you're like, okay, well, where do I go? Who do I talk to? I was able to set my band up with a business manager, this guy that he owned a studio in West Hollywood, and we met with him, and the meeting went great. But then my singer, he had a lot of throat issues, so we kind of scaled back for about 6 months. So we didn't contact this guy for 6 months. And in LA, stuff goes super fast, so deals are made very quickly. So he just ghosted me. I never talked to him again. So it's you gotta when you're young, and I just say this to all of our younger listeners: if you have an opportunity to travel while you're young, do it now. If you have the opportunity to play in a band with your friends, do it now. Because what happened to me is went to LA, band broke up, then I became a session musician, which I really didn't like because they call you a hired gun or a mercenary. It's just you're just a paycheck to the band leader, to the guitarist, to the singer, whatever. I really didn't like that. I like more the camaraderie, the group kind of feeling that a band has when it's all friends. And that's what I grew up doing. I grew up in multiple bands, and I was friends with everyone in the bands. It wasn't until LA where I started playing with people who were not my friends, and quickly I kind of burnt out on that and wanted to get out of there.
Man, what I'm seeing, or this is what I think is eventually gonna happen is these younger people, like you mentioned, they're unable to find jobs, they're unable to find employment. So society is gonna regress. They're gonna go back to like almost like wild living, like living groups of people living in a forest, or you know what I mean? Like if you can't afford a house and you can't afford a job, you know, what are you doing? Are you just gonna wither away in a city, or are you gonna like group up with some people and move to,
Well,
you
I
know,
think
some isolated place?
some people, I hear that my sister lives out in Hawaii, and she said, you know, they have a pretty big homelessness issue there. Because I think a lot of people, they'll somehow afford a ticket to get to Hawaii, and then they're homeless and they're just, you know, living off the land, living on the beach in paradise. It's not too, you know, it doesn't sound too bad. Obviously, you know, it's nice to have a bathroom, a shower, all that. But, you know, if you got to brave the elements and just do your own thing, Hawaii kind of sounds like a pretty cool place to do it. Or, like I was saying, I was living out of my car in Malibu, California. Very beautiful place, very serene. You know, if you're gonna be homeless, do it in a nice area. That would be that'd be my 2 cents.
I mean, it's crazy that we have to even like think about this, but I mean, it's the reality. Like, there's more and more jobs are laying off, things are getting more and more expensive. So it's like, if you're homeless, what are your options? And I think that, you know, what's so crazy is that they're even making it illegal to be homeless. Like, if
That's right.
they catch you sleeping in your car, they're gonna harass you, or you know what
You
I
get a
mean? So
ticket. Yeah, they'll
yeah.
ticket you.
So like, where they supposed to go? So I mean, I guess I can see people moving to remote locations, learning hunting, living in the woods. And when it really boils down to it, you as a human, you need you don't need as much as you think you do, you know. And
That's right.
you know, once all this technology gets stripped away from people, I mean, they're not gonna have material possessions, but I guess they're gonna have that sense of community again.
Yeah, I mean, I was when I ended up homeless in LA. The apartment I had, I think it was 1,600 a month, which I was able to afford it for maybe 6 or 7 months. And then, like I said, Google changed their algorithm. So my drum lesson business went from the first page to the third page, totally destroyed my business. I was getting like maybe two, three, four phone calls a week for new lessons. And that turned into big zero. So I don't know. When I think back, it's like, you know, you're only young once. You know, could I live out of my car now? Sure, but is it comfortable? No. And would I do it again? Probably not. But you know, like we're talking about, who knows? Like, you know, robots could take over all the jobs, and then what are we gonna do? Yeah, like you said, we're living out, you know, George in the jungle. We're living out in the jungle, just I don't know. I
Yeah, I mean,
really don't know, man.
I mean, if an entire airline just failed, like it's not like there's a brand new airline that just started where all of these people that lost their job, they could just go apply over there and now they're immediately employed. Like for a new airline to start up, it takes a long time. So where are all these people whose skills are,
Where are they gonna
yeah,
go?
where are they
Yeah.
gonna go? What are they
Well,
gonna do?
it's the same kind of thing in the tech industry, the game industry. You got companies, you know, bailing left and right, getting rid of half of their staff left and right. And where do they go? You know, there's already, I mean, yeah, there's game companies out there that are hiring, but a lot of the time it's real specialized roles. So you may just not qualify. Oh, what I wanted to say earlier, I forgot, talking about property tax. I knew a woman when I was working at that health insurance company. Um, I knew this woman who she was married to a Viacom vice president. So, you know, super rich, married to a super rich guy. They got a house together in Bel Air, California, which Bel Air is one of the richest areas in Los Angeles. So she had a pretty nice, you know, we saw it, me and my band, we stayed with her for one night and we saw it, and we, you know, it was just, I want to say 2 or 3 bedrooms, but it was a, you know, it was $1 million home or 1,500,000, something like that. And she said she has to work a job just to pay the property tax.
Right.
I think the property tax was something like, I want to say 50,000 a year. So she had to work a job, make at least 50K a year just to stay where she is. And like, you say, oh, you quote, you own that home, but not really. It's still really, if you have property taxes that are high, it's still like you're renting.
Yeah, you're just renting it from the government or from the HOA because they can take care of property at any time. I think like the younger generation, a lot of them are going to move out of this capitalist mindset and out of working
Oh,
for a
yeah.
career. They're going to learn practical skills. They're probably going to move to remote locations and
Farming, learn how
yeah,
to farm.
farming, build,
Yeah.
cutting down trees and building a cabin or something. Like, I mean, if you can't
Yeah.
afford a house, so you might as well build your own. If learn
Well,
how to.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. One thing I saw on Netflix maybe a year or two ago was this guy, pretty cool doc. I don't know if it was a documentary or a show, but basically it had to do with tiny homes. This guy who was some kind of marine, I think, or he was in the army, and something happened to him. There was an explosion or something nearby, and so he kind of like for medical reasons he got discharged honorably from the military. And what he did when he got back to, civilian life, he said, you know what? I'm going to build tiny homes for homeless veterans because no one's taking care of these people. Like it's a really noble thing to do. So he started building tiny house after tiny house after tiny house, all for free, all, just available for these veterans. And there needs to be more programs like that going on. I don't know what state that program is in today, but I know we need more people doing stuff like that.
I mean, I don't know why they can't use robots and all of these resources we have to build homes for everybody. Like, why isn't the government taking our money and doing that? They can, but they're not, and probably they won't because they probably want to exhibit control over us. I think that's the thing. Like people
That's the
that's running
thing.
things, yeah,
All the money in this country goes to war, foreign wars and Israel. So it's like, I don't know. I could see, like you're saying, younger people. I could see there being a big change from our typical capitalistic worldview of, okay, the American dream, because younger people, they can see, okay, this is not 1985 anymore. It's not the 80s. There is no American dream left. A two-bedroom, rundown house is $750,000. People are making minimum wage, 15 bucks an hour in certain states, which is better than minimum wage in some other states, but still, I mean, how are you supposed to live? How are you supposed to live and get a house off 15 bucks an hour? It's just not really feasible.
yeah. I think people are gonna have to learn practical skills like gardening, farming, maybe create urban farms and create a community. Like people have to work together because otherwise, where people are gonna it's gonna deteriorate and turn into urban chaos. I mean, it's
Yeah,
sad
kind of
that
like if we could do something like the Native Americans did, the way they used to live, very minimalistic.
yeah, it's sad that we got to think like this. But I mean, what's the alternative?
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about, these data centers, they're building more and more data centers, and ultimately that's for AI. And ultimately, this AI is, instead of it's weird because when they used to talk about AI, they would talk about it enhancing human skills, giving humans more abilities, more reach. And really, that's not what's happening. Instead of the AI aiding humans, it's actually replacing us at a rapid rate. Like, for instance, the tech industry. I can see this on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot doing networking. So I'll check my news feed every day and I'll see all these junior developers, junior web dev, junior software engineer, all these kind of roles. They're losing their jobs. They're losing their jobs. And then they're saying, "Hey, I need a job, blah blah blah." They're posting about it. Nothing, nothing. Then you do see people on LinkedIn, they'll say, oh, thanks, Mary, and thanks, Steve, and thanks to blah, blah, blah for getting me this job, really insinuating that it was an inside connection. That I feel that's sort of the only way to get a job now is to know someone. Because if you go in cold, if you're just cold applying on LinkedIn or Indeed or Monster, like any of these sites, if you're cold applying, that's just being run through a what do they call that? An ATS system? Is
Yeah, I
that the
don't know
name of that?
the exact name, but I know it's like AI
Yeah.
filtering.
So, so basically, your resume gets sent to AI. AI filters it in whatever way it's going to filter it, and most likely, it's going to filter you out. More than likely, that's what's going to happen. So, the employer isn't even seeing your application, which is really sad because you used to be okay. First job I ever had was teaching drums. And the way I got that job was I walked into a music studio, shook the guy's hand, gave him a CD with me playing on it, said, hey, would love to teach for you. I think you got a great thing going on here. And he said, you know what? I really like your style. It's very old school. And this was back, I don't know, I guess I was maybe 18. So I'm not sure what year that was. Um, but it just shows how different it is. You used to be able to go shake someone's hand and get a job on the spot. Now, your job, or I should say, your resume, your job application is now going to AI, and AI is basically saying, "Yeah, we don't need you. We don't need you. We already have someone that's in that we're keeping in mind for the position." Because a lot of these companies do that. They'll post the job because they have to, but then they just give it to someone within that organization.
I
I
mean,
see that a lot on LinkedIn.
the younger generation, they're gonna have to be proactive. They can't sit around waiting for a company to give them a job because I don't think it's gonna change around anytime soon. So, like mentioned before, get together with some of your peers, think about building something together. Y'all might even have to, you know, like live form a community together. You have to do something, and we as individuals who are currently blessed to be employed, we have to watch where our money is going because a lot of times we're enriching the corporations that are oppressing us. We're going to quote like a Walmart or one of these big corporations who are laying people off for AI. Like
Right.
who are you spending your money with? Go spend a little more and get it from the mom and pop instead.
Yeah, kind of support your environment, support the culture that is surrounding you. I mean, it could, yeah. I mean, it could go back to the way it was in the 1960s. With the hippie generation, and they had communes. So, we might see a return to that. You got like 50 people that all are tired of the capitalism, tired of the system. So you get 50 people all pool together their resources, and they start building tiny homes and bonfires and crops and whatever else you need. It can be done. It just needs the proper planning. So,
Yeah.
I say this to all our younger listeners, take a look around, try to get skills now. YouTube is very helpful. You can learn anything you want to for free on YouTube, or you could take free courses from schools like Yale, Harvard, Princeton. All these schools have free programs online that you could take. So don't let anyone tell you, oh, you don't know enough, or oh, you can't do X, Y, and Z. Like I said, I was 18, walked into a music studio, shook a hand, and got a job. So if I could do that, this younger generation, you got to start to think more old school. How are we going to do this? How are we going to prolong our lives and make a place that's appropriate for us to live and comfortable for us to live? These questions need to start being asked by the younger generation, I think.
The upside of this is that When people get away from being in their, the isolated prison, their house where they're glued to a tablet, they're going to be talking, interacting with each other, telling stories, creating music. Like the best music, I feel like, came in those eras where they didn't have computers, where everybody wasn't inside, because like music is an expression of feeling of being around people. So that's why music felt more real back then, because there was more interaction with people, more stories to tell. So that's like one positive.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think, back to the six. I mean, I was born in the '80s, but a lot of the music I like was made in the 1960s, 1970s. Whether that be jazz or fusion or rock, just the best of the best pretty much came out in the late 60s, early 70s. You had, groups like Cream, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd. Then you had the jazz fusion stuff from England, King Crimson, Yes, Genesis. There's really countless bands that are really talented that came out back in those years. And nowadays, we don't really have much. I mean, maybe there's some good rappers, but we don't really, like you can't think of a new band that's like, oh wow, these guys are as good as Pink Floyd, or these guys are, as good as the Rolling Stones. It's like that music, it kind of came and went. It's not coming back. What we have now is a sad story, really, compared to the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, I think like
That was like the mecca for music.
the difference then and now is like back then they didn't have entertainment. They can't just look at TikTok all day, flick up the screen over and over. They didn't have anything else to do, so they grabbed their instrument. They just play that all
They
day,
started,
get
yeah, they
better and
started
better and better.
practicing. They started practicing every day. I always tell my students, get in some reps, get in, even if it's 5 minutes a day. Our muscle memory works that way. So if I'm trying to learn, a song from Pink Floyd, let's say Money, and I put it on a Monday and I play to it for 10 minutes. And then on Tuesday, I play to it for 15 minutes. On Wednesday, I do 5 minutes. Thursday, I do 20 minutes. Maybe Friday, I do a half an hour. Point being is that the muscle memory is being built daily, 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 repetition, repetition. This is what I tell all my drum students: try to be as regular as you can with your practicing, and just sit down at the drums or at your instrument with the mindset of, I will do 5 minutes today. And I bet you half the time you get to the end of that 5 minutes and you're going to say, you know what, I'm going to do 10 minutes, and then you get to that 10 minutes, you say, all right, maybe I'll do 15 minutes, so um, that needs to be followed. If we're talking about music, musicians, learning music, you need to do this stuff daily, daily. I got as good as I am today because I played at least an hour a day for the first 8 or 9 years of my playing. And because of that, it's given me the skills to have traveled the world. And you can too. All those younger listeners out there that are checking us out right now, you could travel to Europe. You could travel to Central America, with a band, or maybe musical theater, acting. There's a lot of different creative pursuits that can bring you to different countries in the world. But don't let anyone tell you that you can't, because honestly, all you got to do, go on YouTube and just start learning your craft,
Yeah,
learning
you
your
got to be
craft.
proactive. You can't just sit around and hope that some company's going to give you a job, because with the trend, they're not going to give you a job. So you teach yourself some skills, build a business around it, or build, like, I don't know, like learn how to build a house or something, learn how to repair cars. You have to learn how to do more and more things on your own, because things are not going to get more affordable anytime soon. And,
Yeah.
there's no corporation that's just going to give you a bunch of money. So,
Yeah,
I
I think it
mean,
would definitely, for the youth, yeah, get kind of like band together, start to make these kind of like hippie communes, a more like modern version of that, Maybe you got a bunch of tiny homes. Maybe you got 25 tiny homes all on the same lot, all on the same property. And and then you have farmland there, and you share in the crops, and everything is shared, So, I mean, there's only corruption when a small percentage get control of everything. So it does need to be equal. But I think as long as it could be equal, uh, we could see some stuff like back in the 60s where people were just living in communes and just sharing everything. I know my parents were both hippies actually, and they lived on a commune in California for I think 6 or 7 months when they had just got married. They didn't really have any money, so they were just hanging around there. So I think that kind of stuff we could see a comeback. We could see kind of like a renaissance of that. But people got to start moving in that direction. People got to start learning how to
You learn the
plant
basic
food and
skills, yeah.
cook and fix cars and build houses. And you need, if you have a group of 50 people and each person out of that 50 person group has a different skill, then everyone can help each other out. Everyone can help each other out. And this is the kind of stuff I think we're gonna start seeing, because as AI grows, as these data centers grow, more and more jobs are going to be lost. Like we're talking about that airline, they just let go of 18,000 people. So we're, just realistically, there's not another airline that they're going to jump on that's really needing employees. So that's 18,000 people now with no job. What do they do?
I
Do
mean,
they
even with
drive
me,
Uber? You know?
even with me, I need to learn more practical skills. Like me just diving deeper into tech. Now you see the trend is they're going to use AI to replace or try to replace what I'm doing. And yeah, I could try to double down and get so good where they need me to oversee everything. But the reality is I need practical skills. Learn how to repair a car, learn how to repair motorcycles, learn to build something from scratch. Like, yeah, these jobs that, were
Learn to
looked
cook.
down upon. Yeah, learn to cook. The jobs that were like, oh, yeah, you're not going to make a lot of money being a plumber or whatever. Now, these are the jobs that are making all of the money because right now robots
Electrician.
can't do it. Yeah, electrician,
Yeah, the
farming is going to
trades,
be
HVAC.
huge because people need to eat, like and if with the price of food now as crazy as it is, how are you going to feed yourself? And they're pumping all these chemicals in the food. So
Yeah, either way. Yeah, even if you can afford the processed food that's out there as GMOs in it. And I mean, what's crazy is that GMOs are illegal in certain countries. I think in the EU, I think the whole European Union, I'm pretty sure that Monsanto was banned there. Any product with, Monsanto. So we need to do the same thing in the US. We need to ban GMOs just across the board and start growing and start eating real food again, because this processed stuff is killing us. It's really
yeah, I
it's
mean,
slow. It's a slow death.
I wish it would happen, but sadly, I don't think it is. So it's like we got to take it into our own hands and learn to plan ourselves and at least you could be a little bit better off than going to the produce section at some cheap grocery store and they who knows what they pump that food with.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I guess my kind of final thought from today is yeah, I just want to speak to all the younger generation, the Gen Z, or even millennials too. Our generation, me and Kev's generation. We gotta band together. We gotta come together. We gotta figure stuff out, because these these home prices are gonna keep going up. These rents are gonna keep going up. Gas prices keep going up. Food prices keep going up. We got to learn skills so we can break apart from this system. Capitalism had a good run, but I don't think it's sustainable for too much longer. I feel like we're already in a depression right now, but no one will say it. no government official will admit that it's a depression. But when I read back about the Great Depression in the 30s, it sounds a lot like right now. All these people out of work, prices surging. It's like time is repeating itself.
Yeah, exactly. If you listen to mainstream news, what you're gonna find out is they're painting one image because they want these corporations to still be able to sell you stuff, but the reality of people actually living is that the quality of life is going lower and lower and lower and lower. And if you just follow the trend, then you're gonna be impoverished. So, you have to be proactive about doing something different. So Eric says he goes to the farmer market, better produce and sometimes cheaper. And he also grows his own vegetables. Yeah, and Eric is somebody who's been in technology for a long, long time, and he's even, growing his own food because he sees the tremendous value in it.
Sees the value. Yeah. I mean, that just goes to show, a lot of tech people, they're starting to, broaden their horizons, starting to go into things that, instead of just learning new AI skills, which I'm sure are useful in some regard, go learn how to grow carrots, go learn how to grow raspberries. And Eric the Viking saying we've been in a depression for the past 2 to 3
Yep.
years. No one will admit it. Amen. I mean, yeah, no one will actually call it a depression, but if you go back in your history books and you read about the Great Depression, it sounds a whole lot like what's going on right now.
Exactly. I think that'll be a great topic for another episode. How did they survive in the Great Depression? How did people typically survive these economic downturns? That's what we have to look at because that's where we're already at.
That's
And
what's
it's
coming.
going to
Yeah, that's what's
yeah.
coming. That's what's already here.
But yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in and sticking with us. Be sure to tune into the next episode. We'll catch y'all next time.